I was feeling epic. Whatever. Welcome everyone to the second episode of the podcast I Was Feeling Epic, where we talk about each episode of the Vampire Diaries. And today we will be talking about episode second, which is the Night of the Comet. So this episode starts with previously on the Vampire Diaries, which is in the voice of Nina Dobrev. I'm at least 99% sure that it is her voice. You can correct me in the comments if it is not, but I believe it is. So we can see a recap of everything that happened in the first episode, which is for someone who binges Vampire Diaries and have binged Vampire Diaries for millions of times is kind of unnecessary, but I understand that back then when this aired, it was like a weekly thing. And then right away, we dive into a creepy scene in the woods, where again we have a couple in a tent. And as the name of the episode tells us, this episode is all about watching the comet that comes back to Mystic Falls after 145 years. So this couple decided they're gonna spend the night in the tent so they can watch the comet. And the girl hears something and she's making fun of her boyfriend because she says, I told you it was gonna rain and you said it was not gonna rain. So the guy goes out of the tent to see if it's raining. And again, there is a fog, and we see the fog creeping in, which I think again, I guess they still thought that they were gonna keep the Damon storyline with the fog and the animals like it was in the books. And when we talk about the books, let's look at some differences between the books and the show, and especially with the characters and their visual appearance. So if we talk about the differences between the show and the books, there is a lot of differences in appearance of the characters. For example, Elena was supposed to be blonde with blue eyes, but they like Nina the way she was, so they kind of kept her with the dark hair, dark eyes, which I love. So naturally, Catherine was supposed to also be blonde with blue eyes, and they were supposed to resemble each other. They were not supposed to be a doppelganger. But I kind of love that they kept Nina to be able to play Catherine, because I think we couldn't have asked for a better Catherine, for a more perfect way of portraying Catherine. And I love how Nina can switch when she plays Catherine and Elena, because to me that's a masterpiece, because Catherine has a totally different demeanor, the way she walks, the way she talks, the way she swings her hips when she walks, and her like her whole demeanor just changes. I just love that. Then when we look at Caroline was supposed to be a redhead with green eyes, and Bonnie was also supposed to have red hair and brown eyes. Now the thing with Bonnie, with the actress Kat Graham, actually wears green contact lenses, and she has been wearing them for years. So actually, Kat Graham does have brown eyes in real life, but she wears green contact lenses. And then Damon was supposed to have black eyes, which I'm glad they didn't do. I think that it would make Damon look more maybe creepy, like more dark, but I personally love the combination of blue eyes and dark hair, and I think Ian Somerhalder's eyes are so beautiful that I'm very glad they didn't cover it with black contact lenses. Then some people also that I like read some stuff on Reddit, some people think that the Vampire Diaries is copying the Twilight series, which is not true, because actually the Vampire Diaries books came out in 1991, which is the year that I was born. So I mean, it was meant to be. And then the first book of the first Twilight book came out in 2005. So there is no way that the Vampire Diaries could have copied Twilight. That's just like a side note. If we go back to our scene, and the couple in the tent, the guy goes out of the tent to check out if it's raining or what is happening. And then while he's outside, the girl hears some drops dripping on the tent. So she kind of laughs to herself, because she's like, yeah, like I told him it's gonna rain and now it's raining. Like we all know that, guys. So she, of course, again, like in a good horror movie, she goes outside to have a look what's happening. I think I could not ever sleep in a tent in the middle of the forest, even if I was with my boyfriend. I just would not do it. I would be so scared. So the girl goes out of the tent, and she looks up and she sees her boyfriend hanging on a tree, and there's like blood dripping from his neck onto the tent, which is the sound that she heard when she was inside. And so the girl starts running through the woods. She runs towards their car, and then she gets to the car and she tries to open she's like holding onto the handle of the car, and she screams, open please," which to me is funny. Like, I don't think the car's gonna like listen to you and open up. But again, like, she's in distress, and maybe she thought magically somehow the car would open, which it doesn't. But while she's trying to open the door, she hears like beep beep, like a car key sound behind her, and then she freezes up because she knows that's not a good sign. And then Damon, we now know it was Damon, but something or someone, which we know is Damon, jumps her, like he jumps from the top on her, and then the scene ends and we see the Vampire Diaries, the graphics, and it starts. And this is so relatable, these scenes, or not even relatable, more like funny, because when I was going to Mystic Falls, we were driving from Jersey. I live in New Jersey, and it was my dumb idea to drive there instead of flying to Atlanta and then renting a car. So we drove from New Jersey to Covington, Georgia. It took us about 13 hours, and we, left in the morning, and then we're getting there maybe 10 o'clock at night. We're like, we have another hour to go. And we are driving on these windy, small roads in the middle of the forest. There's like no light anywhere, just our car and the headlights. And then like the biggest storm, like a rainstorm starts, and it's just creepy because the sky is opening up, and there is thunder and lightning, and it's so creepy. Like, literally the sky is opening up and the lightnings are everywhere. I'm like starting to pray because I'm like, oh my god, I hope we're gonna make this. But it was very like theme oriented, like beginning of a trip when you're going to Mystic Falls. Perfect, because it was so thematic. Like, it was the atmosphere and everything. Like, if Damon was laying there in the middle of the road, I would not be surprised, because it was like those two scenes in the first and second episode. Like, it was just perfect. So that's just a little bit about the trip and how it began with this huge storm. And then in the next scene, we see Elena's eye, and then it goes into a scene of Stefan's eye, which looked super funny to me this time around watching it. And then there is like interchanging scenes where Elena and Stefan are trying to get out of bed, while in the background we hear, "Dear Diary, this morning is different. There is change. I can sense it. I can feel it. I am awake. For the first time in a long time, I feel completely and undeniably wide awake. For once, I don't regret the day before it begins. I welcome the day, because I know I will see her again. I will see him again." And it's like changing, each line one of them says, but they're basically thinking and saying the same thing. And it was so cute. I think this scene was super cute because I remember those times when you were excited to go to school on Monday because you couldn't wait to see your crush in the hallway and maybe sneak like a smile or a little look or a little wave or something. So I love this scene. And then Elena sits in my favorite window and she writes in her diary, "For the first time in a long time, I feel good." When she gets out of her room, she runs into Aunt Jenna, who is trying to get ready for a parent-teacher conference, and she's asking Elena how she should do her hair, if she should put it up or if she should put it down. So when Aunt Jenna shows her putting it up in like a clip, Elena tells her "sexy stewardess," and when Aunt Jenna puts it down, she says "boozy housewife," which I like it. It's so funny. And then Jenna tells her, "You're feisty today." And Elena says, "I feel good," which is rare, so I've decided to go with it. Fly free, walk on the sunshine, and all that stuff. So Elena's really embracing this new feeling. And then there was a really cute scene when Elena's asking Jenna, where is Jeremy? And Jenna is like, oh, he left early to finish a birdhouse for the wood shop or something like a wood class. And then and Jenna is looking in the mirror and Elena's standing behind her. And in the mirror, Jenna sees that Elena's face goes like, what? So then Jenna kind of like gets it and she's like, there is no birdhouse, is there? And Elena is like, nope. And then we see Jeremy walking into the room, into like a hospital room where Vicky is, and Vicky is sleeping. And next scene, we have a history lesson with Mr. Tanner. I hate that guy. And Elena and Stefan are looking at each other. So then he's like, am I interrupting you? Blah, blah, blah. And Mr. Tanner tells them about this comet, which this whole episode is about this comet. And he says that it's coming to Mystic Falls, or it can be seen again in Mystic Falls after 145 years. After the history lesson, Stefan gives Elena a book, Wuthering Heights by Alice Bell, and then Stefan and Elena talk about that Emily Bronte couldn't really use her real name back then, so that's why she used the pseudonym Alice Bell, because women writers weren't really a thing back then, or like it was frowned upon basically. And then Elena asks Stefan where did he get the book, because I believe it's like a first edition. And he's like, kind of like, oh, well, it was passed down through the family, generation to generation. Meanwhile, he probably went and bought that book himself because he's that old, So that was really funny to me. Caroline and Bonnie are walking through a hallway together, and Caroline says, I'm confused. Are you psychic or clairvoyant? And Bonnie tells her, technically, Graham says I'm a witch. So then Bonnie proceeds to tell Caroline that she has some ancestors from Salem, which we know that there were these witch trials, and I googled it, and it was between the year 1692 to 1693, and there was about 20 victims there, and it was caused by a very like hardcore Puritan society and like their huge fear of the devil. So they just kind of made this thing up. I don't know. And then Bonnie again is kind of like, oh, like I don't think witches is a real thing. I just think my family is crazy, basically. And then Caroline tells her, feel free to conjure up the number of the guy from last night, which she means Damon, because she saw Damon at the grill and she liked him. Jeremy goes angrily towards Tyler and he's like, how is Vicky? Did you like check up on her? Blah, blah, blah. And Tyler didn't, of course, because he's a jerk. So he's like, so he's kind of like shuts Jeremy out, and Jeremy's like, I'm fed up with this, and if you hurt Vicky one more time, I will kill you, which is like, ooh, like a big threat. Then Elena is talking to Matt in front of the high school. Elena and Matt are talking about Vicky, and Matt tells her that Vicky told Matt that it was a vampire who bit her. And we can see Stefan, who is sitting on a bench, and he's like listening in on their conversation, and Stefan, his face, like he gets scared. So then Matt and Elena kind of finish up their conversation. Matt tells her that he's gonna go to the hospital to get the real story, like meaning to talk to Vicky and see what really happened. And Elena turns around and she wants to go talk to Stefan, but he's no longer there. Then Jenna has a meeting with Mr. Tanner, and Mr. Tanner is being a jackass again, and he's like, is there anyone else who could take care of Elena and Jeremy, like kind of basically telling her like, you're not doing a good job, which rude. Then in the next scene we see that Stefan makes it to the hospital and he goes to Vicky's room and he compels her to forget everything. But before Stefan gets there, actually, Matt gets there and Vicky freaks out. So Matt runs out to get the nurse, and then in the meantime, Stefan sneaks in and compels Vicky. And Matt sees Stefan, so he kind of follows him, but I think Stefan like jumps out of the window. But anyway, like Stefan is on Matt's radar, like he's definitely suspicious of him. In another shot is Caroline, Bonnie, and Elena sitting at the grill, and they're sitting like outside on the not patio, like on the street basically, where the little chairs and tables are. And I love that because that's where I sat. And like, it is so cool to watch this show now that I've been there. It's just amazing. I love it. So Bonnie tells them that Grams told her that the comet is a sign of impending doom. And then Caroline kind of dismisses it, and she just wants to know like what happened between Stefan and Elena when Stefan came over to Elena's house, and she thought like, did you kiss or did you like make out? And Elena's like, no, we just talked for hours. And then my kind of note on this was what time did Elena get home? Because when she was leaving for the grill, and Jenna was telling her like, oh, it's a school night, don't be late. So let's say Elena got home from the grill at 9 or 10, and then Stefan came over and they talked for hours. So what time did he stay until? 2 o'clock. Like, and Jenna wouldn't be worried there is a guy there, or I don't know. That was suspicious. Then we see Jenna that's trying to kind of lure Jeremy into a conversation about his behavior, but he totally shuts her out and leaves through the side door. Then we have Matt and Vicky in the hospital. Vicky doesn't remember anything that she told Matt because Stefan compelled her. And Matt asks her again what attacked you in the woods, and she says it was an animal. Then Jeremy comes in, and Vicky is kind of like mad at him that he came in because she's like, oh, I don't want anyone to know about us, and why would you come to see me? And Jeremy tells her that he was the one who brought her out of the woods, so it's not weird that he comes to check up on her. And she's like, oh, it was you. Like, she kind of mellows out a little bit. So after that conversation with Bonnie and Caroline, Elena kind of thinks about it, and she decides to go to the Salvatore mansion. And she's like ringing the doorbell, but then she realizes the door is open and she just walks in. I don't know if I would, but she does. And she's like kind of in an awe from the house because it's so like huge inside. Everything is just insane, like carved wood and that beautiful furniture and giant fireplace. So then again we have this thing with the crow that flies in, and when Elena gets scared and turns around, Damon is standing there, and he says, you must be Elena. I'm Damon, Stefan's brother. He didn't tell me he had a brother. But that was also a little bit weird to me because in the first episode, Elena asks Stefan if he has any siblings, and he says none that I talk to. So like none that I talk to doesn't mean no, so she could have figured like he does have a brother or a sister. So Damon now brings Elena inside, and she's like kind of looking around at all the stuff. Damon goes, I see why my brother is so smitten. It's about time. For a while there, I thought he'll never get over the last one. Nearly destroyed him. And Elena says, the last one? Yeah, Catherine, his girlfriend. And then Elena makes a face like, yeah, I have no idea what you're saying. So then Damon is like, oh, you didn't have that awkward talk about exes yet, which he totally knows they didn't. Like, it's all just a ruse. And Elena's like, nope. And then Damon, being a total savage, is like, well, I'm sure it will come up now. And in that time, Stefan comes in and he's totally mad and just like frowny and everything. He doesn't even look at Elena, and he tells her, it was nice to see you, Elena, which basically is like, go now. And so she gets that in and she's like, I should probably go. And then she has to ask him like 2 times to move out of the way because he's blocking like the door. So then he moves out of the way and she leaves. Then Damon kind of makes fun of Stefan, telling him like, you're not that good at compelling people because you're not drinking human blood. And then he also says, oh no, and then Stefan asks Damon how long Elena was in the house, to which Damon says, scared we may be doomed to repeat the past. I love the word doomed. It appears in the Vampire Diaries a couple of times, and I think that's just a great word, great English word. Then Damon and Stefan kind of like go back and forth, and Stefan tries to figure out why Damon comes back. And meanwhile, Elena sees Stefan as a walking red flag at this point, and she's telling Jenna he's on a rebound and he has raging family issues. And then this interaction between Jenna and Elena really, really is funny to me, because when I was younger, when I was like, whatever, 17, when I was starting to watch the show, I didn't really know what Jenna is talking about, but as I get older, the words and Jenna's age, I do understand what she's saying, because she tells Elena, wait till you date a guy with mommy issues or cheating issues or amphetamine issues, which, like, valid. I mean, I've dated even guys with worse issues, and it's not funny, but like, I totally get Jenna. Jeremy comes home and he's a little bit stoned and it's like laughing a little bit at Jenna, so she throws an apple at him and she tells him he's grounded. And he says, which I love the scene, parental authority, I like it, sleep tight. And he puts like a thumb up to her, which like makes her even more mad. And I love that scene. In the hospital, then Vicky dreams about Damon, and Bonnie and Elena are walking on the town square, and they are handing out flyers, which I believe are for the Night of the Comet celebration. And Bonnie is asking Elena, oh, you didn't call, huh? And Elena says, no, I'm not ready anyways. And then Bonnie's like, yes, you are ready for something, blah, blah, blah. And then Caroline sees Damon again, but he again vanishes. At the Salvatore house, Uncle Zach is asking Stefan why is Damon back and that he's putting everyone at risk. And then Zach asks Stefan, is she worth it, Uncle Stefan, this girl you came back for? And Stefan doesn't reply and leaves. I understand Zach, because imagine that you're living a normal life and then your vampire ancestors come back to town, live in your house, and just cause chaos and start to eat people. I mean, I would be horrified if I was Zach. Then at the grill, Vicky is asking Jeremy for some painkillers or probably some pills to get a little bit high on. And he's like, oh, didn't they give you something in the hospital? And she's like, yeah, it's like stuff for babies. So he gives her some pills. And then Tyler comes sneaking over to Vicky and asks her how she is, to which she says, like you care, which valid. And then we find ourselves at the celebration for the Comet, and everybody's there, and they have these plastic cups with white candles, and they kind of like are lighting the candles from each other. And of course, Elena is lighting someone's candle, and when she looks up, there's Stefan. So Stefan goes, you know that comet, it's been traveling through space for thousands of years, all alone. And Elena, yeah, Bonnie says it's a harbinger of evil. I think it's just a ball of snow and ice trapped on a path that it can't escape, and once every 145 years it gets to come home. I'm sorry about yesterday, I wasn't myself. And Elena says, you seem to spend a lot of time apologizing. I have a lot to apologize for. Yesterday wasn't about you. You didn't tell me that you had a brother. We are not close, it's complicated. Always is. He told me about your ex, Catherine. Oh yeah, what did he say? That she broke your heart. It was a long time ago. When you lose someone, it stays with you, always reminding you of how easy it is to get hurt. And then Elena says, it's okay, Stefan, I get it. You have no idea how much I get it. Complicated brother? Check. Complicated ex? Check. Too complicated to even contemplate dating? Double check. It's okay. We met, we talked, and it was epic. But then the sun came up and reality set in. And then she blows out the candle in the cup, which is super dramatic. And of course, Stefan, being Stefan and being a guy, he just stands there and he says nothing. But circling back a little bit to this scene, there's a couple things. I love the connection of harbinger of evil. I just think that's such a funny thing, harbinger. I love it. And I also love the first sentence about the comet that Stefan says that it's all alone traveling through space and time. I really think that the writing, especially in the first two seasons, is so beautiful. Like the way the writers have with words. I think it was Kevin Williamson that was writing most of these scenes, and it is just the way they put the words together. I love it. It's really beautiful. And then I also love this sentence, when you lose someone it stays with you, always reminding you how easy it is to get hurt, which I think again is so true, because it's so easy to lose everything you have, or not lose everything, but it's so easy to have your life interrupted with something bad, meaning somebody in your life dies or something horrible happens that just changes the course of your life. It changes the way you think about the world, about things, about life. And it is really hard after you experience something so life-changing in a harsh way where you really have to focus on moving forward and taking this grief with you and somehow deal with it and grow and overcome it and be able to pull through and move forward. After that, I feel like Elena is right, and it's always in the back of your mind where, like, even in the happy moments, you realize how easy it is for that to go away and for you to get hurt again, for someone close to you to get hurt, to die, to leave you. So I really love the writing. Like, I feel like the way the words are put together is beautiful. So, but anyway, Elena leaves Stefan and he's just standing there, not saying anything. At the bar, at the grill, Vicky is looking at Damon and she says, I know you. And Damon tells her, well, that's unfortunate, which I just love Damon. And she says, I don't know how, but your face. Like, she doesn't know him, but she somehow remembers him. And I think that's because Stefan's ability to compel is not as strong as Damon's. Then Vicky goes to the bathroom, Damon appears, and he bites her again. Meanwhile, Jeremy is again trying to find Vicky, which to me, like, I think if my friend got lost for like an hour or two, I probably wouldn't be alarmed because I would just think that they are talking to somebody somewhere, you know? But anyway, maybe because she just got hurt, Jeremy is super protective of her and he's afraid for her, so that's why he's trying to find her. So Jeremy tells Caroline, Tyler, and Elena that they had sex, and Caroline is like, oh really, Vicky slept with you? And Jeremy says, yeah, and I didn't even have to force herself into it. And he looks at Tyler, which immediately Matt registers, and he's like, well, what is that supposed to mean? And then they kind of leave it the conversation and they all decide to go look for Vicky. In the town square, Matt then asks Stefan if he saw Vicky, and then he also tells him, I saw you in the hospital yesterday. And Stefan's like, well, I was visiting, but Matt doesn't really believe him. And then while Stefan is talking to Matt, he can hear Vicky crying. So he leaves Matt, and so then Stefan finds Vicky on the roof of the grill with Damon. Vicky is crying and Damon is holding her on like the edge of the roof. He kind of almost looks like he wants to throw her off of the roof. And then Damon makes Vicky remember, or forces her to remember what happened to her. So Vicky remembers that it was Damon who bit her, but then Damon also compels her to think that it was Stefan. So Damon is telling Vicky, Stefan is a vampire, he's a vicious, murderous monster, and like he's the one who did this to you. Which vicious, murderous monster, really? That's your brother you're talking about. And to me, when we go further along in the seasons, or in the season when we go to the flashbacks of the Salvatore brothers, I don't think that they would be this hostile at this day and age, because then when later on in the other seasons they go back to flashbacks, like they kind of like when the relationship was better, but now in the beginning of this season it's like he's a vicious murderous monster. But I understand they had to put some flashbacks back for us, so I guess I'll let that slide. And then Damon tells Stefan, like, you should drink her blood because then you're going to be strong. And Stefan gets mad and he says, you know what? Let her go. Let her tell everyone that vampires have returned to Mystic Falls. Let them chain me up and let them drive a stake through my heart, because at least I'll be free of you. Which is very dramatic. I don't think that Stefan really wanted to die that night, but I think he's just so fed up with Damon's shit, so, Damon then smiles a little bit and he compels Vicky to forget, and then Vicky is all good and she just thinks that the pills that Jeremy gave her kind of were harder than she thought they would be for her. Stefan is asking Damon why did he come back, and he says that's for me to know and for you to dot dot dot. So meaning I'm not telling you anything. Matt is thinking Stefan that he found Vicky, which Vicky remembers because she was compelled to remember that. And Stefan is asking Bonnie and Caroline if they saw Elena, which is weird to me. Why did Elena leave? Like, why didn't you go search for Vicky? Maybe I missed the reason why Elena left. And Bonnie then gives Stefan Elena's cell phone number, and when she touches him, she like freaks out and she says, "What happened to you?" What did happen to him? And then Elena gets home and Jenna is like looking through Jeremy's room, and Jenna tells Elena, "I know I'm screwing up because I'm not her," which means I'm not her, meaning Elena and Jeremy's mom, which is so sad. I feel bad for Jenna. And then Elena tells her, "No, like you stepped up for us, you are taking care of us. It's not your fault. We're just all a little scared." And then Jeremy is at the grill and he sees Vicky and Tyler kissing. And he leaves heartbroken. Caroline goes to her car and Damon appears. And he says, "Sorry, didn't mean to scare you." "No, it's okay. I was hoping I'd see you again." "I know." Cocky much? Very much. Which Damon is very much cocky. And then Elena comes to Stefan's house and we can hear iconic song Gravity by Sarah Bareilles playing, and they go outside to look at the comet. And Elena tells him, "See, the thing is, I got home tonight planning on doing what I always do, to write in my diary. But then I realized that I'd just be writing things that I should probably be telling you. I would write, 'Dear Diary, today I convinced myself that it's okay to give up. Don't take risks, stick with the status quo, no drama. Now is just not the time. But my reasons aren't reasons, they are excuses. All I'm doing is hiding from the truth. And the truth is that I'm scared, Stefan. I'm scared that if I let myself be happy for even one moment, that the world is gonna come crashing down, and I don't know if I can survive that.'" And again, that's something I was talking about earlier, that I do understand this feeling because she just went through this horrible thing with her parents, and I think she's in a state where she really is scared to let herself have any happiness because it could be taken away at any moment. And then Stefan tells her, "Do you know what I would write? I met a girl, we talked, and it was epic. Then the sun came up and reality set in. Well, this is reality right here." And then we have the first kiss of Stefan and Elena on this show. And again, it's so beautiful. They have so much chemistry, and I love that scene. And then the very last scene of this episode is Damon and Caroline. They are at Caroline's house, they are making out, and all of a sudden we see Damon's face change, turn into, the vampire face with the teeth and then the veins, and Caroline starts screaming. And this is where the second episode of the Vampire Diaries ends, and this is also where the second episode of our podcast, I Was Feeling Epic, ends. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Please feel free to send me a message or leave a comment with things that you would like me to talk about, or with any, things you want me to know, any comments or anything that you want to tell me. I also have an Instagram account that I've had for a couple of years, where I share some memes and some edits from the show, if you would like to follow that. And the Instagram is TVD forever dash I Was Feeling Epic. I will put this also in the description of this episode. This is my second episode today, so my brain is a little mushy, but yes, I will put it in the description for you. I post some of like the funny scenes that I find hilarious, like for example, am I wearing my "I blew up the council" t-shirt? Why is everybody keep asking me that? And stuff like that. And it's hilarious. I'm also now posting about the podcast there as well. But anyways, if you would like to send me a message about the podcast with any comments or anything that you want to tell me, you can send me a message on that Instagram. Thank you so much for listening all up to this point, and I hope that your day will be epic, and I'll see you here next time, always and forever. Am I wearing my I blew up the council t-shirt? Why is everybody keep asking me that?